Hey Scouters, Scouting families, anybody who has ever been to Chief Logan before. My name's Jaron. I'm a merit badge instructor and a nature staffer at Chief Logan Reservation. I know we can't be there this year, but today I'm going to go over from my home in Nashville, Tennessee, one of the basic concepts from the Geology merit badge so that you guys can learn a little bit of what you might learn at camp at home. We're going to go over the three main types of rocks, and those three main types are categorized by the way that they're created. First, before we do that, we need to kind of figure out what a rock is. A rock is an amalgamation of a lot of different minerals in kind of a mishmash, sort of chaotic way. If those minerals were more pure, if it were one type of mineral, and if all the molecules were lined up more perfectly and it weren't so chaotic, we would call that a crystal instead. But since it's all these different types of minerals being pushed together in crazy ways, we call that a rock. Now, the three main types of rock formation are igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. The first one, igneous, is a rock formed by heat. Usually that's by some sort of volcanic method, being near or inside of a volcano. Minerals are melted into lava or magma, depending on if they're in or out of a volcano. And when they cool off, then they form a rock. A great example of this from a very popular video game is obsidian. It melts into lava, and when it cools, it forms this kind of like black glass-like structure, and it's created a whole new rock. Sedimentary rocks are formed in a completely different way. They are sediments, or little groups of minerals like sand, that are pressed together into a rock by pressure, and that's sometimes by immense amounts of weight from dirt and from the earth, and that's sometimes by immense amount of weight from water, like the ocean or a river or a lake. A good example of this, since they're pressed down flat, are the lines that you'll see going across the Grand Canyon. It's multiple different layers of rock from many different years that were pressed down flat. And since we can see that because rivers have cut through the Grand Canyon, we get to see a great example of how sedimentary rocks are formed. Now, last, there's metamorphic. Metamorphic rocks are a combination of the two. They're usually formed underneath volcanoes or closer to the core of the earth. It's heat and pressure combined to make a rock. Obviously, I don't live near a volcano here in Nashville, Tennessee. If I did, then I would show you guys some great examples of igneous rock. And metamorphic rock varies a lot. It can have a lot of different qualities, but sedimentary is more easy to pin down, and that's what I've decided to show you guys a good example of today. That's why I'm here at Priest Lake, right near my house in Nashville, Tennessee. And you can see when you look on the ground that the rock formations are really wide, and they spread out really far. And if the water level were lower, or even if the water was gone, you could see multiple layers of flat rock, just like this, going down and down and down, further and further. All of it there because it was pressed down over years by the lake. This rock is here because at one point the water levels were higher. The water brushes up against the rock and it brushes away some parts of it, and it presses down against the rock, pushing some parts closer together. And that's why it's so wide, and that's why it's so flat out here. And if you guys, any of you guys live near an ocean, a lake, or even a river, just go out and you can see that the rocks generally are flatter. They're more thin, like a pancake. That's why you'll usually find good skipping stones right next to water where you can skip them at, because they were pressed down over time by the water. Anyway, that's the three major types of rock explained. You've got igneous, which is formed by heat. You've got sedimentary, which is formed by sediments being pressed together, pressure. And you've got metamorphic, which is a combination of both heat and pressure. I hope to see all of you guys next year in 2021 at Chief Logan so that I can go over some of this stuff again in person. Maybe you'll have remembered it from this video. See you guys next year. Yeah, nature.